The alarm goes off. You absolutely drag yourself out of bed. I mean, your eyes are burning, your limbs feel like lead. You are just completely, utterly exhausted. Well, let's explore what's actually happening here. It's something called the phenomenon of false wakefulness.
Because let's be honest, 3. That's the number of hours you actually managed to sleep last night. 3 hours? That is a massive sleep debt. But then, you take a shower, you rush out the door, you merge onto that busy highway, and suddenly, you feel totally fine, wide awake, sharp even.
Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly does your brain just override your biological need for sleep? I mean, why do you feel awake when you should be, by all accounts, completely exhausted? Well, sleep medicine research actually has a specific name for this. It's a scientifically proven physiological and neurological state known as stress-induced hyperarousal, or sometimes it's called the masking effect. And it's exactly what happens when stress hormones and environmental triggers quite literally force your body to function despite a severe lack of rest. So we're going to treat this explainer as a step-by-step biological sequence, starting with part 1, the false wakefulness phenomenon itself. Moving right along to part 2, exhaustion chemistry, specifically what we call the adenosine trap. Think of adenosine as this heavy, unavoidable weight that you're just dragging around all day. It's a chemical your brain continuously secretes throughout your waking hours. And as this adenosine builds up and physically binds to your neural receptors, it creates what scientists call homeostatic sleep drive. Simply put, the heavier the adenosine buildup, the heavier your eyelids feel. Now, check out the contrast here. A normal, full night of sleep acts like a deep clean, right? It washes away and breaks down all that adenosine buildup. But 3 hours of sleep? Yeah, that short window completely fails to clear it out. So when you wake up, those levels are still dangerously high. Your body is secretly in desperate need of rest, carrying all the literal chemical weight of yesterday's exhaustion right into today. Which brings us to phase 3, stress and environmental masking. So you're full of adenosine, you feel terrible, but your body has a natural way to get you going in the morning, right? It's called the cortisol awakening response. Usually it's just a gentle nudge of hormones, but when you're sleep deprived, your body practically panics. It senses that massive lack of sleep and overcompensates dramatically. It sends out this huge, oversized surge of cortisol just to force you upright. And then you hit the traffic, the crowds, the noise. Suddenly, your sympathetic nervous system, your ancient fight-or-flight response, just totally takes over. Your body acts like it's in a literal biological emergency. It dumps adrenaline and noradrenaline into your system, your heart rate spikes, your airways expand, blood rushes to your muscles. It is a complete physiological takeover by your body's emergency responders. Now, what's really interesting about this is the intense chemical war happening inside your brain right at that very moment. On one side, your internal state, severe sleep debt and massive adenosine. On the other side, your external response, adrenaline. And that adrenaline acts as a temporary brake. It physically blocks the adenosine from binding to its receptors. It literally turns off your brain's ability to feel its own sleepiness. Crazy, right? This is the very essence of environmental masking. Your brain is just being flooded with high sensory stimulation, movement, blaring noise, bright lights. Add in cognitive distractions like, say, navigating traffic or talking to a coworker. Your brain starts prioritizing all this external survival data. It decides that surviving the highway is infinitely more important than the automatic signals coming from internal sleep centers like the preoptic area. It just overrides your sleep drive entirely. The result? You enter what researchers call a high arousal state. Your eyes are wide open, your mind feels sharp and alert. But here is the absolute crucial takeaway. You are being fueled entirely by stress hormones, not by rest. That missing sleep, it isn't gone. It's just hidden behind a chemical mask. But you obviously can't run on stress forever. Eventually, you get to work. You sit down at your desk, the room is quiet, you stop moving. And your body slowly realizes there is no tiger chasing you. This brings us to the final inevitable phase, part 4. The biological crash moment. Let's see how this builds, because it happens in a very precise 3-step sequence as soon you sit down in that quiet place. First, the environmental threat vanishes, and your adrenaline drops. Second, with that adrenaline gone, that massive backlog of adenosine is instantly unmasked. And third, your parasympathetic system, the rest and digest network, finally takes back control. And this creates what is medically referred to as a sleep crash. Now, this is not a gentle fading of energy, oh no. It is an intense physical sensation. All that accumulated adenosine floods your unguarded receptors all at exactly the same time. And the result is a sudden, overwhelming, almost paralyzing exhaustion. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire biological arc we've just covered. It's amazing how our environments directly dictate our physiological outcomes. In the early waking phase, high adenosine gives us heavy lethargy. But you add crowds and effort, and that sympathetic activation makes the sleepiness vanish, completely replacing it with false energy. Finally, when we sit and rest, the adrenaline drops, the receptors are freed, and bam, we hit that wall of severe exhaustion. Now, you might be thinking this is just some frustrating modern inconvenience, but it's actually a brilliant biological trick. I mean, this is an ancient evolutionary mechanism designed to protect us. It allowed our ancestors to perform in life-or-death emergencies, to run from predators or fight for their survival, even if they were completely exhausted. It is a system built from the ground up to keep you alive in danger. But remember, the masking effect is exactly that. It's a mask. It's a temporary loan of energy from your stress system, definitely not a replacement for actual sleep. So the question you really have to ask yourself the next time you power through a busy morning on practically zero sleep is this. You survived today, but when will your body demand you pay this physiological debt?